one of the first things to do is to lower a little bit down to more practical solutions that we can do on a farm level. And we have split this session in two. First, we are going to look at some short-term solutions and later on the longer-term solutions. And now that we know what the picture is and what to expect between now and 2034, it may all make sense. It's starting to make sense. And I hope that all of you will see the benefit of that. In terms of the short term, let's talk about the next year or two. That's how I define the short term and what can be done. There is a saying, and I don't know where it comes from or what the origin is, but it says that you can solve any problem by throwing enough money at it. Now, for people on a farm that also have to run a business, and the crisis, the so-called energy crisis that we are in now, that makes a lot of sense. The technology is there, the solutions are there, and all that we need to make a decision now is, can my business afford the next step or not, or what should I do? In terms of short-term solutions, I'm going to have a short checklist. Many of these topics are known by all of you, but I'm going to highlight one or two of the things that I know many people battle with. There are 5 items for discussion. And at the end, we will see how we can group them all together. And then we will hear from Social here what they have done and to share some of their experiences with us as well. The first one is Eskom. We still have Eskom, although we have a lot of load shedding as well. Let's look at the prices of Eskom on a rural flex structure. On the normal off-peak periods, this time of year when irrigation is at its highest, we can get electricity at about R1.10 per kilowatt hour. Now, that's a cost of energy plus then the cost of the ancillary costs, as well as some network demand costs. Everything that you will pay extra for additional kilowatt hour of electricity. That's R1.10. During standard times, it goes up to R1.50. And in peak times, it goes up to R2. In winter, those prices go up quite a lot, but let's focus on the current irrigation period. Okay. So that is still a good deal while you have it. Now, the first checklist is, do we still make maximum use of that available energy? People say, I cannot irrigate because I'm running out of power. But look at your energy supply. Are you sure you use everything? We don't have to calculate that ourselves. That's done for us on the RuralFlex Eskom account. And there's a factor called the load factor. The load factor gives you a ratio of what you have used compared to what has been available for you to use. So if a load factor is 30, that means that you have used on that specific supply point 30% of the energy that was available over the whole month. So first thing, make sure that you use all the energy that you can from Eskom. It's still fairly good rates, and I think that's your best solution to kick off with. Then you may require some solutions to achieve that. Maybe some automated irrigation control systems, or you may need to pay some people overtime to irrigate after hours or during the night, but at least the energy is available and there is a solution, but at some sort of sacrifice towards implementing that solution. Now, if you're already there and you still need more energy for irrigation, then we have to get some other sources. Let's talk about two. The one is diesel solutions. If you generate your own electricity with a diesel generator, it will cost you in the order of R6.50 to R7 per kilowatt hour while the generator is running. Just something interesting. Many people say, what is the size of the generator I need? Because if I have a 300 kVA generator and I only use it to run a 100 kilowatt pump, aren't I using too much diesel for that? The answer is no. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So if you only need 100 kilowatt, you will only burn enough diesel for the generator to supply you with 100 kilowatt. Therefore, the rate or the cost of R6.50 per kilowatt hour will stay constant between 25% capacity of the generator and say up to 75% capacity. If you go behind those two, then your cost per kilowatt hour or consumption per kilowatt hour will go up a little. Other ways of using diesel energy is to put the alternator maybe on a tractor that you already have, and maybe there are tractors standing idle that you don't use during load shedding. They are limited to a certain extent, but they have been used before for irrigation purposes. Or you can have a diesel engine directly driving a pump, and some people use that as well. So you don't have to transfer from diesel to electricity to a pump. You go directly from diesel to pumping the water. It's much more efficient that way as well. Okay, if that doesn't work for you, if that is too expensive, let's go to the third point, and that is solar electricity on a farm. And most of you know by now that the cost of implementation is around about 10,000 to 12,000 Rand per kilowatt peak installation costs. If you convert that back to cost per kilowatt hour, we can talk about in the region of 40, 50 cents per kilowatt hour over a 20-year period. We have some disadvantages as well. Then you have to use that solar power the whole year, and that's not impossible. If you only use it during the irrigation cycle, then that cost per kilowatt hour will go up to say 80 or 1 Rand per kilowatt hour as well. And the reason for that is that a solar system you have to utilize when the sun shines. Otherwise, the solar system will degrade anyway. And it has a limited lifespan of about 20, 22 years, and your inverters and other electronics even less than that. So it works good while the sun shines. And if you want to make use of that fairly cheaper energy source, you have to store the energy. And that's my fourth point here, is energy storage. Batteries is expensive at about 5,000 Rand per kilowatt hour. So let's make a quick sum. If you want to store 100 kilowatt hour, that will cost you about R500,000 of investment in batteries. Okay, it's good if you can use that the whole year. And maybe what we can do is wait for new battery technologies. There's a lot of change going on internationally. And I think within the next 5 or 8 years from now, we will have a totally other landscape in terms of batteries. At the moment, I'm referring to the so-called LiFePO or lithium ferrous phosphate batteries, which is more common for energy storage. Another type of energy storage that we can use specifically on irrigation farms is storing water at elevated dams. Now, immediately people think, if I have water on an upper dam, then I can irrigate with gravity. That's 100%. If you can do that, that's first prize. Or I can run the water through a generator. Hydroelectricity is being generated, and I can use that in my pumping systems. That's also a possibility. But the one I would like to discuss in more detail today is water at a higher level has embedded energy, although sometimes very small. So if you take an example, if you would take 1,000 cubes of water and lift it 40 meters high, immediately you have embedded 100 kilowatt hours in that source of water. So if you want to use water from that dam now, you use less energy. And the solution for load shedding here is, during load shedding, and I have to use, say, for example, an expensive diesel generator, take that generator to the higher dam, and from there you use less energy to take the water down because you already have 100 kilowatt hours invested in a dam. How do you charge your so-called dam with energy? Take your cheap green time on Eskom, 1.10 Rand, and pump the water upstairs, or use your solar power available when the sun shines, much cheaper, and pump the water up. And during load shedding, or when you need more energy, take the water from that high level of energy, and you lose less energy at a lower cost to irrigate the orchards. Okay, another way of looking at that is so-called lithium battery has a lifespan of 10 to 15 years, depending on the cycles, but a dam has a much longer life cycle. So the investment in energy in water elevation is a much cheaper solution actually over the long time, and so suitable for irrigation farmers, although that's not a short-term solution, but something to consider in the long term. The fifth point is then to compile a business strategy for the short term. There are a few solutions, and as I've said earlier, if you throw enough money at it, it can be solved. And a business decision is something like, and I would want to make the following suggestion. If you have 4 hours of load shedding per day, what can we do? What can we apply? If we have 8 hours of load shedding per day, what would the solution be? And then also, if the power is down or Eskom is down for 2 days or more, what will my solution be? And I know the farmers are very good strategists. During the drought of 3-4 years ago, they've done the same type of made the same type of decisions. They would say, I'm going to focus first on my high income orchards. So that would keep my business alive. Or I would sacrifice old orchards if I really run out of power. Or maybe, because I know this is a short-term crisis, it's only going to take 2 years, I'm just going to make sure my orchards survive the load shedding period so that I can go on from 2 years after now and carry on with my farming business. So that is a strategy of longer-term survival and taking the knock now. And those are the decisions that we can do or make in a very short term. It's what are my potential downfall of losses in terms of a loss in crop or income for my farm, compared to what can I invest to solve those losses or to get a solution for that.